Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a Vlookup and also how to do a Sumif formula. So Vlookup is a common formula that you need when you're comparing data. So like the Vlookup formula, what it does is it pulls the value of the row, or it pulls the value of data, so like in a column. So for example, if I have this, if I have a month and your boss tells me, tell me how many sales you had, or how many invoices you had in July of 2013, you could, if you had, you could tell by the list it's 150, but sometimes you have, say, hundreds of rows, and you have to, or you have a long list of months, or somebody sends you a list of months, and they want to know how many invoices or invoice lines they had, and they need to know quickly. For example, if you had like a list of 100 months. So a VLOOKUP formula, what it does is it looks up the value to the left from a table or from a group of information, and it returns the value. So for example, I can do the equal sign VLOOKUP, and I could click this if I want, and then it says lookup value. So it's asking you what value do you want to look up. So you can just either type in the value that you want to look up, or you can just connect it to a cell that you want. And if you press the F4 button, it's going to put these double dollar signs. That means that it's always going to look at, it's locking the cell, so it's always going to look at that particular number, A14. But if I want to drag it down, then I just want it to lock the column, so it's locking, the dollar sign is like locking, so it's locking A, but it's not locking the number. So when I drag it down, it's gonna go 15, 16, 17, and then it's asking me where's my table of information. So here's my table, because here's my year and my month, and here's the invoices. So I'm gonna lock this with F4, because then I want my table to stay. My table is never gonna change. It's always gonna be A2 through B7. And then the next thing that's asking is the column index number. So it's asking, okay, what column do you want me to look in? Since the first column of your table is A, because this is the first column, your second column is B, you want number 2 because it's row 1, it's the column 1, column 2. So I put the comma, and then it's asking me the range lookup. A true means it means find me something close to that, and false means find me exactly this value and bring me what's next to it on the second column. So I use false. I close my parentheses, and then I see my number there. So I think this is, the problem here is this is reading it as here my text is general, and here it's a custom. It has to do with like the text being different. So let's see if I change this. Let me change this back. Here, we can do, let me just change these two numbers. It just like messes it up because the formatting was weird from how I took it out. So if I type in 2013-007, see how it's going to bring back the 150. In here, then if I drag my formula down, I notice if I'm scrolling back and forth, the exact same formula is up here stays the same, and the only number that's changing is this A14 and A15. So that's just going to tell me, okay, now look at this number. So if here I can type in 20, 13, 0, 0, 3, and it should give me number 20. So here, this is something if you have like a long list of data, when you can bring in, you can have it update. Your boss is like, oh, tell me how much XYZ was. So this is if I want to do invoices. So if I want to do invoice lines, how can I do this formula? Well, I can do the same thing. I can just either do it a couple of different ways. If I want, I can just copy it, Control C, and paste it back in here. And I say, okay, well, it's still going to look up the first thing, lookup value. It's still going to look up off this. My table is bigger now because I want invoice lines, so I have to drag it over to make it, expand it, make it bigger. So now it's going from A2 to C7, and now it's asking me what column number to bring over. And if I want invoice lines, that's the third column. So I have to put the number 3. And again, this lookup value, false means exactly that number. You can see that's 441. If I drag it down, it's 222 for that month. So then this is something you can do if you needed to update it for April, or you just want to see what the April results were. So you can do it that way. So that's, I would say, like one of the important formulas is the Vlookup. So learning how to do that. So I would say if you could fill in, here's a practice for you, and I'm copying just with Control C and pasting with Control V. Control plus the V number. So I'm going to clear these formulas here, and I'm going to ask you to fill in the totals here using a new table over here. So let's see, I'm going to change the values up here in this one, and then see if you can give me the values that I'm looking for. So this one's going to be 2012-007. Let's see what happens if I drag it down. Sometimes, like, it's pretty smart, so if you start a list, it'll be able to read it. So now I can see it's going 009, 10, 11. So let's see, 20, 12, 0, 0, 8, 20, 12, 0, 0, 9. Alright, so if you can give me the first test, I guess it'll be if you can update the invoice lines from this table. And here, I'm just going to show you another formula that you could do. Say, for example, you have a list of information like over here, this product category, and you're trying to sum up like a list of information. And you have like repeating lists of information. So repeating values like this. Times 3. I'm just making up some numbers right now to play with here. I'm gonna copy them. If I do paste special values, I don't know what version of Excel you have, but if you do right click, paste special values, and then one where it says just values, that'll clear out the formulas. So that's something you should know. So like there's no more formulas in here. So what I want to know, for example, is if I have a list of material teams and I want to know what the sales are, on here I can't use a Vlookup, because what a Vlookup, all it's doing is a Vlookup is just looking up a value and returning it. It's looking up a value from a table or from a list, and it's going to return that value. But the problem is that it doesn't add up if you have multiple values. For example, I'm going to show you, if we do the Vlookup and I'm trying to look up again, lookup value is this material handling and storage. The table is this two tables here, and what I just did is hit control shift and the down arrow, and that took me all the way down because there's no empty spots. And then I press again F4, and I'm locking the table numbers because I don't want my table to change. And I'm grabbing sales for the Vlookup, which is number 2, and I use an exact match, so I want false. And I can drag this down. What it's doing is just returning it's just returning the first value that appears in this list. So if you have multiples in a list, a Vlookup isn't going to really help you, because I see that material handling shows up twice on here, so it's not adding up correctly. So if I want to know how much material handling and storage we have in this list, I have to use a formula, Sumif formula, that Sumif S formula, and then that'll be able to add up multiples. So this is the first thing it's asking me is, where's the sum range? So it's asking me what are all the numbers you want me to sum. So I start in this C3. I hit Control Shift down, and it goes all the way to the end. And then I lock the numbers because I want those are going to always be my numbers that I want to add up. And I put a comma, and it's asking me what's my criteria range. That means what's all the descriptions or the criteria that I want to be looking at. So again, that means that it's this material handling, because it's going to be, I'm going to ask it to match up this material handling. So again, I just do Control Shift down, goes all the way down to the end, and I'm putting the F4 numbers because I'm locking it, and then I put a comma because the next thing it's asking me is what's the first criteria, or what's the first thing you want me to look for. And I'm telling it find me the material handling and storage. So I'm just put the comma, and then it's asking me, oh, because the Sumif S, you can do multiple criteria, but if you're like, okay, that's all I need, then you can just close the parentheses, and here it's going to add up all the material and handling. And you can see another shortcut is if you do the ALT button, the Alt button, and the equal sign, it sums up the numbers above. So Alt equal. So I can tell now if I were to put for example, a filter on this data filter, or here, if I highlight B and C and I put a filter, and I sort this or if I select only material and handling, I know that my sum of it here, if I sum it up, highlight them all at 785, 565, 45. So using my Sumif formula, that's the same number I got. If I use a Vlookup, it wouldn't work. So Sumif S formula, Sumif is formula is very helpful as well. So what I want you to do then is to try to do the same Sumif is formula on this I'm just going to clear the formatting from here. So what I want to do is, if you could, on here, fill in this data. So now if you can fill in the Sumifs formula off of here and here, from the data off of here. That'll give me, then that'll, help you with the understanding of how to do that Sumifs formula. And here is like the one that I did for the practice. So I'm gonna send you this video, and then you can practice on those couple of things for now. So good luck.